What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So more pictures were released by the former 2 times Arnold champion and the former Olympia champion Brandon Curry. So these pictures were taken at 4 days out of this year's Arnold. And that I have got to say is a very dangerous look, considering how dry and round Curry is looking. And that is exactly what these guys were aiming for. So people are now just curious to see the legs. But it's not like he hasn't posted any leg updates throughout this year's Arnold prep. His quads had more definition and separation at 5 weeks out of this shoe, compared to some of his recent stage looks, like the Olympia last year. And I am just talking about his legs from the front. His legs from the side, they have always been extremely impressive. So this I believe is gonna be very interesting look, from both Brandon Curry as well as Derek Lansford, and both of whom are former Miss Olympias, because both of them are working with a different coach this time around, after so many years. Brandon in particular is working with someone other than those guys in Camel Crew from the O2 gym in Kuwait, because he was working with Abdullah since 2017. And yes, his prep from last year's Miss Olympia, that wasn't done with Abdullah either, but he was in the same O2 gym. And we all know those guys have this theory of bringing in their guys very full, with very little attention to detail and conditioning, because that was never their top priority. So can Brandon Curry shock the entire bodybuilding world? And by that I mean, he cracks top 3. Now, I have got to say that is a very long shot, but the man seems very confident. So let's just see how this pans out on the stage. And can he hold on to all that size, especially on his legs, with their focus more on conditioning, detail and separation this time. And do let me know what are your expectations from Brandon Curry in 2 days time. So Hostile just dropped some Sherpa lined zip-up hoodies and forged hooded jackets. So do check him out and use the code Fazi10 to get 10% extra discount. If that was a recent physique update from another former Arnold champion, William Bonac, the Conqueror, he would have been a very solid contender to make top 4 or maybe even higher at this year's Arnold. But I'm afraid it's not. This is an old picture of William Bonac, taken during the Arnold Classic 2022 prep, when he was working with Chad Nichols. And the man absolutely nailed that look. And I have said this before, he totally deserved to win that show instead of Brandon Curry. And for those of you guys who do not remember, there was actually a huge uproar after the results were announced. Now Bonac is past his prime, and he himself said that, and he is very realistic about his expectations for this upcoming weekend. Now there is a possibility that William places 4th or 5th, but there is also another scenario in which Bonac won't even make top 6, because this has already happened 2 years back at the same show, where he not only got beat by Akeem Williams, but also the giant killer, Sean Carida. Now one thing about William Bonac is very certain. He is gonna be on. And that is precisely the reason why he was able to make top 7 at this past Miss Olympia, when people did not even have him in their top 10. So what do you guys think? Have guys like James Hollingshead and Carlos Thomas Jr. made enough progress to beat this veteran of the sport? So Stefan, who by the way is the coach of both James Hollingshead and William Bonac, he has James ahead of Bonac. Now William Bonac is probably gonna make this year a very memorable one, because he has already committed to doing multiple shows, starting from the Arnold, then Detroit, FIBO, as well as the Pittsburgh Pro. They are all on his list, and maybe Dubai Pro as well. Guys, Gorilla Wear is offering a massive discount of up to 70% right now. Use the code Fazi10 to get 10% extra discount. Next up, we have an update from Horse MD, going through a brutal leg workout session. Not an overstatement, saying that Horse probably has some of the best legs in the entire men's open bodybuilding roster right now. And honestly, he earned a lot of respect this past year by doing 3 shows back to back, and he kept on improving from one show to the next one. And I believe Horse MD was extremely unlucky that a veteran bodybuilder, Akeem Williams, who was top 10 at the Olympia last year, he decided to enter a show 8 weeks after the Olympia, the last Olympia qualifier, which was the big man weekend. And if it wasn't for Akeem Williams, Horse MD would have won that show. And he did beat guys like Emir and Andrea Presti. And Presti, we all know, is a 3 times former Olympian. So it's just a matter of time till Horse MD gets his first pro win and earns his Olympia spot. And I believe that is an eventuality in Horse's case. So what really was very impressive from Horse MD was his extent of improvements from the back. I mean, the man was getting smoked at the Arnold, Ohio last year, and the fans gave the verdict that Horse MD isn't gonna win any show unless he makes some major improvements in the back area. And I have got to say that he did. His conditioning was also superb at that show, and he does a great job at hiding his waistline, especially in those front shots, by executing all those poses in a different way. Now, as I just mentioned, Horsemti has superb legs, and if he can get more cap delts, that I think can make up for that wide waistline. So what do you guys think? Are we gonna see Horsemti make his Olympia debut this year? Another very impressive off-season physique update from John Jewett, pushing his way to high 250s. So there are only a handful of guys who can grow at such a fast pace and also stay extremely lean, that too at the peak of their off-season, because that's an all-time high body weight for John Jewett. Now John Jewett is on the top of the list of those guys who can stay super lean in the off-season. Now he already made a statement at his men's Open Olympia debut last year. He was on his way to crack top 10, and he would have had he maintained that same look that he brought at the prejudging all the way till the finals. And I believe no one is gonna sleep on a guy like John Jewett for this upcoming season. He had unbelievable thickness from the side. The side leg and the hamstring drop, that is just crazy. And I don't think John gets enough credit on that 1-year transformation that he was able to make from 2023 to 2024. He somehow managed to grow his lower lats, which is something that seems impossible because that's a genetic weakness, especially at the highest level. That is so hard to improve. So just 1.5 years ago, John was competing in the 212, and he made that timely switch to the men's Open Plus, and we are most probably gonna see his all-time best this year in the upcoming season. Next up, we have 11 weeks out physique update from Josema Beast, powering his way to this year's Pittsburgh Pro. Now there is some light manipulation in this video to create more detail and more shadows, but nobody is ever gonna doubt this guy, especially in terms of conditioning, because the level of shirts that this guy brought and the level of detail that we saw, especially in his back at the Olympia last year, that was simply unmatched and also unbelievable. And I have got to say, if someone can come into classic physique from the men's open, he downsizes and he still wins his first pro show in classic physique, and then he goes on to win another one, and then he places top 6 at his Olympia debut, then that man is a special talent. Now whether he should have stayed in the open or not, whether he should have taken more time to shape his career, that is a whole different debate, because this guy is just 23 years old and still to have enough mass to place top 4 against a guy like Michael Krizo and Andre Presti on your pro debut, that was simply amazing. Now Jose Manuel could have also turned into a great men's open bodybuilder, but he decided to go a different route, and he's gonna utilize less food, also less gear, as a classic physique competitor, and is already top 6 in the world. So this year's Pittsburgh Pro and the lineup that we're seeing in classic physique at that show, that looks insane, and that is gonna be a real test for a guy like Josema Beast. And no matter who shows up at that show, like Terrence Ruffin or Mike Sommerfeld, Josema Beast is gonna be in that first call out. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.